Hello, are we? Yes, there's the subtitles. Sometimes they don't work, and I have to always check. Hello, everyone. Hello, my name is Fiona. I use she/her pronouns, and this is Too Long Didn't Read Tabletop RPGs, a stream which is about accountability, reading aloud, and RPGs. I hope you are all doing very well this fine Tuesday. Welcome to July for those people who haven't checked the date recently. Yes, this is the first stream of this week. Only a 2 stream this week because apparently it's 4th of July and I apparently have plans on our normal regular streams. We've got a stream today and we've got a stream tomorrow. I hope you are all well wherever you are in your neck of the woods, whether you are celebrating 4th of July this week or you're just having a nice normal week. This stream is an accountability stream in which I read some RPG that has caught my interest, whether from the big bookcase of doom. I always refer to it off camera because it's there going, you have so many books, Fiona, and I'm like, okay. Or my big Google Drive of mystery. Woo. And normally what I do, I usually take suggestions, but sometimes I just roll randomly on a random number generator and I go to the one that is in that list. And today, folks, let's just get right into it. Today it is the Doctor Who role-playing game, 2nd edition, the starter set. Because frankly, I am not attempting to read a 300-page book on stream for Doctor Who. Now, I have some caveats to this straight off the bat. A couple more disclaimers than normal at the top of the stream. So I'll do the normal disclaimers first. So number 1. I am not a game designer. I run a lot of RPGs. I have 2 podcasts that are RPG related. And so all of this is with a pinch of salt. I'm coming at this from the point of view of like reading it through as a game master, as someone who plays a lot of games, and about what interests me, what we like about it, what, if anything, we could improve, and the accessibility, because a lot of the games I run are online, just due to accessibility issues and also for content purposes. So that's what I go into mind. That's sort of my point of view, rather than a game design standpoint, but I also comment on that as well. So always take those little bits of critique, not criticism, with a little pinch of salt. Second of all, I am not sponsored by Cubicle 7, who are the publishers behind this particular game. And this is where the other disclaimer comes in. I am not a fan of Cubicle 7's design philosophy around starter sets, and I'll get into that in a second when we start at the top of the stream. Because I have read through a number of their work before with Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay with their starter set and stuff for actually an off-stream game. And I was not a fan of it, and I'll go through why. And that, again, what I might dislike, you might enjoy. So I just wanted to put that up. If I feel a bit more dismissive than normal, or in general, it is because I am not a fan of this particular style of starter set. I want to put that in there. But equally, I'm not sponsored and probably will never be sponsored by Cubicle 7 at this rate. As a result, I'm just doing this because this came up on my random number generator, so there's no sponsorship, no nothing there. But if you would like to have a look where you can get the starter set, I've put a link in the show notes, and the Nightbot has also got the link there as well. So you can go and check it out for yourself. And what was the final thing? Final thing, it's always content warnings. Doctor Who is a silly, I'm going to say it's silly, it's a family-friendly sort of TV show that's a British national treasure type thing. It is something that's dear to my heart. I am a big fan of the TV series, and I know I've watched quite a bit of it. I've watched a bit of the classic series. You know, I wouldn't say I'm an expert at all, but it's something that holds dear in my heart because it got me into storytelling and it got me into sci-fi and all that sort of thing. That said, things happen in sci-fi. There are scary themes, and there are, content warnings abound. So if at any point something does come up, unlikely, I will say unlikely in this sort of starter set, but just in case, do look after yourselves and take your time to dip out of the stream. You are more important than me reading aloud an RPG book for content purposes. So let's go into it. So the reason I don't particularly like Cubicle 7's way of designing starter sets is because I do not think they're very accessible for a beginning game masters. In one respect, on one hand they're not, and on one hand they really are. And the reason I say that is that often what happens with the Cubicle 7 starter sets, and I know it happens in this particular starter set because I looked it through before we started, they have the starter scenario, which normally on this channel I do not read through because I don't want to spoil it for people who are like, I want to play this, or I want somebody to run this for me. Because I don't want you to take up time in that sort of sense. But then they have the starter scenario and then in-bake the rules as written into it. There is no separate rule book. There is no separate fully fledged thing that I could give to the players if they wanted to check something out whilst we're doing the scenario. And I think that sucks from an accessibility point of view, personally. Like, I think you should always have a separate rule guide about, creating, anything like that away from this scenario. I think having it baked in means you lose time trying to find stuff. You're trying to get through the story and look for the rules and stuff like that. It's good in the sense that if you go, oh, at this point, we will make the first roll of the game, which is this, and it's learned by doing. So, if anything, these games are supposed to be, like, played without looking at them beforehand, perhaps. And there is arguments for and against that sort of stuff. I mean, that's fine. I'm someone that always reads beforehand because I find there's nothing worse than sitting at a board game when no one's read the rules and you take 20 minutes to learn the rules, or you're playing a game and you spend it. I think it's always due diligence. If you are the game master, have a look through the rules first, just for your own ease of mind, because then otherwise you have that awkward silence as someone's like trying to look through stuff and you're like, well, our fun, our immersion has stopped. So that's the thing I do not like particularly about Cubicle 7 starter sets. And I know, for example, this one does it, and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay starter set also does it as well. That said, they do have reference sheets, and I always go on about reference sheets to the end of the, like, if you're like, oh, that's really cool, I wish that was a reference sheet, I wish I could just hand it out. They do reference sheets, and I think these are really good, and they have all the core mechanics in the middle done. What we're going to do for this stream, we're going to look through quite a number of the components that come with the starter set, because I want to get a good view about, like, why would you pick the starter set over, say, getting the actual core book for this, or why would you get this particular system in general, or why would you just take the reference guides, the reference sheets, and go from there? So it's a different way of creating a starter set. Sorry, not a quick start. So yeah, as I said, this is something that you have to pay for. There's no free quick guide, unfortunately. Not that I'm aware of. I'm sure they'll be like, here's a starter scenario that you can use at conventions. I've yet to find it. I think everything you have to, and there's no sort of quick start for the Doctor Who second edition. And this is the other thing as well. I do want to say there is a first edition that Cubicle 7 did. And I actually have played through it a long, long time ago. And I will say, the mechanics were very difficult. And I don't think the mechanics have changed too much, but I think they've been streamlined for this particular second edition. The final thing I want to say before going on as well, because I have done my reading in this, like Cubicle 7, what I really admire about them is that, any game company that puts out their own system to tell a particular genre of story, so they've got the Doctor Who second edition, they're like, great. That's what I'm interested in. If you like Doctor Who, and if you like sci-fi, and you want to tell a certain type of story using Doctor Who lore and mythology, there is technically a 5th edition version of it called Doctors and Daleks. What I don't like about it, sorry, start that again. I'm always a big fan. If you're like, you know what, I don't have time to learn a new system, my players don't want to do it, etc. Again, I know the whole point of this channel and the whole point of my podcast is to encourage people to check out new systems, because you will learn stuff as a GM and a player, and you can apply it into any story. There's no one system is better than the other. There's no one system for everyone as well. So I don't think there's a problem necessarily with a 5th edition version of it. What I don't like is how they brought out the 2nd edition of the Doctor Who system and then instantly undermined it by saying, but don't worry, in a couple months' time, the Doctors and Daleks were out. There was so little promotion I felt from the Doctor Who second edition to like celebrate, like, it's its own unique system. They're like, oh, but don't worry, the 5th edition's coming out. I am not a big fan of that. Like, you should be celebrating why things are unique and different, rather than just pander to the people who can't, who don't want to learn a new system. Like, I feel like absolutely you should celebrate, a way to give more people access to it, but don't undermine one release with another release. You see what I mean? And that's what I felt at the time. Because I was like, oh, what's the Doctors and Daleks? Is that a second edition thing? And no, they just announced them both at the same time, and it just felt a bit, oh, why should I care about the second edition when this 5th edition is coming out? So, as you can tell, I've got a few mixed feelings about it, but I want to go in completely sort of fresh. We'll go in from there, and I hope you guys are going to enjoy it. So with all that out of the way, we're going to get away from Big Fiona Face. And as always, friends, like, again, if you spot something whilst we're on the stream, if there's something you want to talk about, do chat. Do put it in the comments and stuff like that. I do read everything as much as I can, and I actually really enjoy it. It's a nice way of like, oh, I didn't see that, or, oh, Fiona, you're completely wrong. I will say this, I'm often completely wrong, so there's no problem with that. But let's move on over to There we go. So as always, we always start these streams by looking at the copy. We always look at the marketing, like what is it that drives people into to get a copy of this. And we're looking at the drive-through RPG version of this because on the Cubicle 7, you can get the physical copy, the physical starter set, which we can also look at as well, to be fair. But all the digital products are through drive-through RPG. So if you wanted to get just digital stuff, go to drive-through RPG. Otherwise, go to Cubicle 7 and you can get the physical set, which will also come with a link to the PDFs on drive-through RPG. I hope that makes sense. So there you go. I want to. I was going to say I was going to open this image, and I did not. What a tiny image. Look, I'm not. I have never put anything on drive-through RPG, but you think, what a great image. I wish to look at it more, and it's super tiny. You can't even zoom in on it, and it will be pixelated as well. So yeah, so this is the box, so the cover, which I quite like. I like, obviously, it's like, well, TARDIS, good. I also like that for this second edition stuff, it came out during Jodie Whittaker's era, when she was the Doctor. But I like how it doesn't matter which Doctor you play with now. Again, for those people who maybe have lived under a rock for like, I don't know, the last 60 years. Doctor Who is based around an alien creature called the Time Lord, or around a Time Lord called the Doctor, whose name we never really find out, although there are hints to it, and it's about their adventures with their not often human companions, going through time and space. And TARDIS stands for time and relative dimensions in space, or dimension in space, depending on which era you look into. What I really like about it is that it's a collaborative story. It can be scary, it can be sci-fi, but often it involves ordinary people in extraordinary settings, and that's one of my favourite things to do as an improviser, is have it's two people breaking up, but they're on a spaceship, all that sort of thing. I find that so interesting, and it just really adds to the drama between individual people. And often you have some really interesting monsters or aliens, and the Doctor usually saves the day. Not so in all cases. But in the Cubicle 7 line, you have a continuous, lots of different source books for each individual Doctor. Actually, maybe I should show you that right now before I forget. Here are all the other things you can get. A lot of Warhammer Fantasy, as you can tell. There's the Doctor Who. There we go. So you can see that there are, the 10th Doctor source book. We've got the 12th Doctor. Yeah, we've got all the Doctors. So if you want to play a classic Doctor or stories from the classic series, and all it is, it's just like a book just giving you all that lore written in very simple terms, which I quite like. Again, it's encouraging people to tell these stories and stuff and get people in. So you don't need any of these books at all. You can always make up your own. But what I like about the starter set is that you don't have a Doctor on the cover. You have the TARDIS, which is almost like the this sort of symbol for Doctor Who. You recognise that, it's a police box that stands out, etc. And so the TARDIS is a spaceship, for want of a better word. I appreciate I might suddenly get lots of Doctor Who people going, well, actually, it is this. It's bigger on the inside, but sometime when it first landed, it took on the form, using its chameleon circuits, of a police box, a 1960s police box, and then it got broken. Like lots of things, when you're an adult, you don't really fix it. So it is constantly this police box, and so no matter where you are, if you see a police box, you're like, oh, the Doctor's here to save the day. So I quite like that. So the actual starter set, as I said, the cover is of the TARDIS, and then inside you do have, you probably can't see it too well here, you do have a couple of other books. So I'm going to just talk about it through, and then I will show you them properly. So you have two adventure books. One that is the Echo Chamber, which is that's the Timeless Library. So Timeless Library is the main core book. It's like the starter scenario. It has the main rules baked in, and it's a one from there. And then if you want to keep going, you have the Echo Chamber, which has two more missions that are follow on from it. You can see there's Jodie Whittaker there on the table, and Daleks. So presumably Daleks are going to be a thing. Daleks, again, for those people who are uninitiated, they are one of the main enemies of the Doctor. Often you're like, no, it's probably a Dalek. You're probably right. And I do think they're quite scary as well. And they're different to an alien, so to speak, even though they do look a bit like a very mid-noughties Pepper Pot in some way. You also have some character sheets, which do the very traditional style. Again, you'll see it when we go into the actual PDF of it's almost like a door, sort of fold in and out. And what's interesting, you probably notice, is that we've got some alien / classic companions from different periods of time, which I absolutely love. That's one of my favourite things about Doctor Who, is having companions who aren't necessarily from early noughties, mid tens. Is that what we call it? Companions from Earth, London, or Cardiff, as it used to be. It's nice to have different pieces. Thanks for highlighting this game. Deserves more. Oh, hello, Zen Hoodlum. There we go. Thank you. No, thank you very much. Well, we'll see how good it goes. But thank you for joining. Let me know what you think as you go through. We also have these are the starter sheets you can see here, and you have these tokens, which are called, I think they're called story points. I don't know what they're used for, but I'm sure we will find out as well. So we've got an image up here. It's very small. Appreciate, again, I can't click into it, etc. So you can't really have a good view of it online, but maybe on the actual website you can. But I'm going to read through the thing, and then we'll get straight into it, because I appreciate I've talked way too long about my love of Doctor Who. So, Doctor Who Role-Playing Game 2nd Edition Starter Set. So step into the TARDIS and embark on a brand new adventure. The Doctor Who Role-Playing Game Starter Set contains everything you need to start an adventure across all of time and space. Whether you're a complete beginner at role-playing games or looking for an epic campaign, this box set is the perfect starting point for anyone who wanting to experience the vast universe of Doctor Who. Simple, straightforward, gotcha. The Timeless Library is a brand new adventure for players of all experience levels. It sends a group of new and varied companions on a journey to a vast library filled with dangerous artefacts and even more dangerous invaders. I assume it's going to be a Dalek. Again, we've got an example of a spread here. It's not a very good image, I will say. It's a bit compressed in it, so you can't really read it. And also, one thing I dislike, and I appreciate it's again, we've not got into the actual PDF yet. White text on orange background. Interesting choice. The story then continues in the epic campaign, The Echo Chamber, and a quest to recover the Hermit's Lantern, providing new and established characters with a wealth of adventure that will take them to surprising new worlds. Another example of a spread there. Some cool aliens there, though. I'm always a big fan of showing aliens. So the Doctor Who's role-playing game starter set is the perfect entry point for players new to the hobby or experienced gamers who want to explore endless worlds and all of time with the new 2nd edition of the award-winning Doctor Who role-playing game. It includes the read instructions first, which we're not going to do, 5 ready-made characters, the adventure book, the campaign book, 2 rules reference sheets, 60 story point tokens, exciting new adventures that teaches you rules how you play, don't like, and then over 100 pages of introductory rules and fantastic adventures through time and space. We'll see about that. We'll see how far we get into that as well. And then there's some reviews as well, and some more reviews as well. It's got really good reviews so far. Again, take all of this with a pinch of salt. The actual page count, I think probably in total, is 112 pages according to this. So again, that's why in my head I would sit down beforehand and try and read through as much as I can to help players out. But there you go. It would be obviously remiss of me not to at least check out the website. Cubicle 7. Oh, I can't even spell cubicle. How embarrassing. It's right there, Fiona. Spell Cubicle 7. Doctor Who the role-playing game. There you go. So this is what this is the core book, which is about $50, which is what I'm going to say. I can put it in GB. I'm going to say it's about £42. Oh, is it £39? Whoa, that's so much cheaper. Oh wow. But there you go. So yeah, you can find out if you want to have a look more of the Doctor Who stuff. Go to the actual. Come on. Why are we not working? We can go to the actual Doctor Who website. That's one of. They go through different logos as well. Interesting. Sorry, that is super boring for everyone. But there you go. So there's lots of different versions, lots of different, like I said, source books. You can have the Black Archive. Go in to find out more about UNIT. Yes. And of course, there's a mixture of PDF and physical on that front. All that out of the way. Let's get rid of Chrome. Goodbye, Chrome, forever. And let's go into the actual PDFs. So, one thing that Cubicle 7 does, and I don't know if I like it or if I dislike it. So this is, I will say this is the box lid. This is the PDF of the box lid. So you have the starter set here, and then you have basically the GM screen that comes inside of the thing. It's sort of printed on the other side of it. And the idea is if you have the boxes and you take them all apart, you give out all the reference sheets, etc., you'd put the box, the lid, in the other lid, essentially, and have almost like a portrait GM screen, with the cover out the front, and then the reference here. So you have the difficulty, what you're looking for as a GM. I don't know if I like it. I'll be honest. Again, you don't have to have GM screens at all. I always think it's quite nice if you do have one to have the image of the logo and stuff like that, because I think that's quite thematic. I just feel like portrait isn't great. I feel like, I don't know if it would have worked better if you had it as a landscape, and had it that way, so you'd have more room to hide your roles if you're that sort of person, or to obscure stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I would have just had this as just a piece of paper just for you, the game master, personally. But it's there if you'd like it. If you get the physical version, that is one thing. Here are the story. Oh no, that's not the story. Here are the character sheets as well. I do wonder if they have stock images of people. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, and I've moved. Have I moved through? No, there's yeah. Don't know what am I talking about. So like I said, there's 5 character sheets. We've got Sam Edlund, who is a human IT technician from 21st century Earth. And again, this is like where it would fold out, etc. We've got some quotes, got some like who he's like, what does he enjoy, why would you play him, all that good stuff. And then we have the actual character sheet itself. I do think these character sheets, I like that they're portrait. Looks like a creepy AI person. Oh, hello, Christian. How are you doing? I don't know. This came out in 2001, I want to say, so maybe. Well, you'll see through the other ones as well. I do wonder if they've been like concept art and Photoshop together, so maybe. But yeah, here it's quite a clear sheet. Maybe it's a bit boring for people, I don't know, but you can maybe I would make the text a little bit bigger, the font a little bit bigger, but it's quite clear. You have the concept over here, you've got all these sort of short-term goals, etc. The attributes, they seem quite clear. We'll say that these aren't form fillable as well, which is always a big shame in terms of accessibility. No alt text as well, but it is screen readable still. But I quite like the hexagons thing. Again, it gives that sort of Doctor Who kind of vibe here. Although, what's wrong? What's going on here with this formatting? Not entirely sure. Then you have Charlie Bluth, who is a stage performer from the 19th century Earth. I'm always a big fan of companions out of time traveling with the Doctor. Like, I'm a big fan of like Jamie, who's in the second Doctor era, like who's like basically a Scottish Highlander. There's also like Zoe as well, who's like from the far future of Earth. I like not people from current, because I as much as I enjoy like Rose Tyler and Amy Bond and all those very fun companions, it just gets boring. I want to see like someone who's learning about Leela is the other one from like Tom Baker's thing, like who is from like the vast jungles, who's trying to learn things, but she does things unexpected and rather than like what I'd expected to do. So I just think you have more fun with it. I think this image as well, I think it is maybe AI or photoshopped in some way. It's a bit odd. Her eyes are really odd. So there you go. He also has something like, what makes Harley's chart sing? Then we have Aidan Duke, who's an augmented human investigator from Sayer's Drift. Ooh, exciting. Well, you can tell he's from the future, guys. He's got bits of microchip stuck to his face. You also have a a Chamberlain 2165, hospitality android from the luxury station Phaeton? Theon? I don't know. And that's, again, I like how in this game you can have up to 5 companions. What's it? Trixketh Thithic, a Silurian, a scientist from the the research station. So you have, because that's the thing, I like having not only people out of time, but obviously people who are from different backgrounds. And I didn't think of like a android could be a companion before. That's quite cool. So there you go. Creepy AI, lol. There you go. So yeah, so I think you've got a nice, decent range of pre-generated character sheets. It's fairly straightforward enough. Again, I do wish that they were form fillable. That's the only thing I'd say. Maybe, again, something that you could do, but again, more work on the GM on that front to get it prepared for people to get into the game. So there you go. But maybe we'll come back to them when we're looking at through the character sheet itself. I do want to go look at the reference sheets first, and what we'll go back to the actual scenario and read through the scenario and then come to the reference sheets as well, because I do want to show them off, because I appreciate people are busy lives and they don't need me to read through the whole scenario and stuff, but I want to look through the reference sheets first. So this is what they are. We have 4 of them in total, or 2 because it'll be on each side. So we have attributes and skills. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 attributes, which will range from 1 to 6. Average human has, you know what, let me zoom in a little bit, I appreciate. It might be a little small for people. Average human has attributes between 2 and 3, and a maximum of 6 unless there's something seriously special or alien. We have awareness, coordination, ingenuity, presence, resolve, and strength. Is it me, or is the font a bit weird? I don't know. It's clearly some sort of like cool. Hey guys, a really cool font, but I don't know. The words seem like that R seems really small compared to the letter D there. Skills are also rated numerically from a rating of 1, indicating basic knowledge, 2 to 3, meaning they are quite confident, and 5, showing real expertise. And we have athletics, conflict, convince, craft, intuition, knowledge, medicine, science, subterfuge, survival, technology, and transport. So they're all on this. And if I go to a character sheet, sorry, Sam, let's have a look. So yes, we've got them all up here, and they're separated out quite nicely, all in alphabetical order, which is good. Ooh, sorry, jumping around. There we go. And then story point reference sheet. So you can spend story points in the following ways. I have no idea. If you're stuck, you can spend a story point and suddenly realise the way to go, suggesting it to others. So almost like a clue from the escape room sort of thing. Okay, that's quite cool. We only get one shot. When making a vital roll, you can spend a story point to have advantage. If it is crucial, you may spend an additional story point to roll 4 dice, discarding the worst 2. Double advantage. Okay. I wish I was here for something special. Some distinctions, such as psychic powers or alien abilities, require a story point to activate. Yep, that makes sense. That was close. Story points can improve the outcome of a roll 1 point per level of increase. This must be done straight away and cannot improve a roll higher than a barely result. Again, we'll come back to it in a second. It's just a scratch. Players can heal injuries in quiet moments. A story point restores half, rounded up, of a lost attribute levels. A story point also allows you to ignore negative effects of one condition. Multiple conditions cost more, 1 for the first, 2 for the second, and so on. This lasts until the end of the scene, and conditions that are still there count towards the total. With a slight modification, gadgets can sometimes do things they are not designed for. Story points to do this come from the gadget. Like this, Doctor. If shown what to do, you spend a story point. Ignore the unskilled disadvantage and use your character's attribute and tutor skill. That's quite cool. So you could bring things together. That would be quite good. Like that's almost like collaborating. Oh wait, so you're very good at this, but I'm rolling for it, rather than like, oh well, you just do it. Putting them together. I quite like that. I like how they took out fight and marksman and now use conflict. Interesting. So they sort of streamlined it down, said Hoodlum. Interesting. Yeah, I vaguely remember there was like a lot more stuff in the first edition from my brief time of looking through it when I ran it offline. So that's good. Yeah, I think always simplify. You don't need so many skills. This is not Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, okay? This lasts for one specific scene or cannot get a result higher than a success. Okay, gaining story points. So the Game Master awards story points for showing ingenuity, bravery, and making the game fun. I won't leave them behind. The choosing to act heroically at the appropriate moment deserves reward. If the Game Master decides it is fitting and the character isn't acting foolishly, they award 1 to 3 story points for this character's bravery. I see. These are almost like vibes of the game, right? So like, again, the Doctor doesn't leave people behind. Just won't do that. I'm not going to do this. All that sort of thing. Like it's like, yeah, I see that now. Captured again. Sometimes it's better just to give in and get captured rather than force another fight. Getting captured, if it suits the storyline, awards the characters with story points to use later, usually to help escape. I won't do that. It's not what I do. Your character's focus comes with a focus flaw. Playing in character stay true to your character's focus earns you a story point. Well, let's have a quick look at that, shall we? What is the focus for Sam? Here we go. Determination. Here we go. Nice. So if you're focused on something, you'd use that. Okay. I can do this. You can do this. I know you can. Characters can donate story points to each other to help through a particular major moment, with a dramatic and rousing speech, a word of encouragement, or even a kiss. Okay. With consent, I would say the player donates some of their story points to keep you going. Maybe I wouldn't put that in personally. I would suggest it. That's the only thing I say. So story points are like a meta currency. Yes, I think so, Zen Hoodlum. It's a way, again, it's a way to reward people for being in character and playing with the game and not breaking out of it. And then on the left here, we've got obviously things that you can do for it. So again, it could give you advantage or double advantage on a roll. Like this top one here, I have no idea what to do. I'm going to spend a story point, and then the GM could give you some options, but like, okay, there are two paths, well, you know, and give you an idea of where to go for each other. So like, rather than like constantly going, I don't know the answer to this riddle, you know, and being stuck, because there's nothing more boring in a game than being stuck, you know, like stumped by a riddle or being defeated by a locked door. You know what I mean? Losing. Losing story points. I ask as if I would ask her to kill. Killing in cold blood is very wrong, and the character loses all their story points. The game master also deducts half of the other players' story points as they should have stepped in. Ooh, okay. Let's talk about this. This reminds me a lot of we covered it on the channel a while ago, troubleshooters, because this game, if you watch Doctor Who, the whole vibe of it is that the Doctor never kills, doesn't do violence or anything like that. That's the vibe of it. Doesn't mean that it happens all the time. But like he will never shoot someone. He will always they will always try and find some way, because violence isn't the answer, which is always like I think a big tenet, so to speak, of Doctor Who. In Troublemakers, or Troubleshooters, sorry, it's the same sort of vibe, because it is like Tintin and those Hergé comics, that sort of thing. And having this, I feel that this is very cruel. Like, killing in cold blood is wrong, and that person that does it loses all their story points, and then everyone else loses because they were accessory to it. I think we just do a timeout and going, that's not going to happen. Like I feel like that you need to talk to your players, like, in this game, killing is never right, and the players should not be doing it, rather than punishing them for maybe they don't see how they can get out of this. Maybe they don't know that they have to be pacifists or something like that. So I'm not a big fan of that particular rule myself. I think I just stop the game and go, killing is not a part of this game. I think this punishment stuff, I'm not a big fan of it myself personally. And then we've got the success reference sheet. So success can be mapped out on the table with the absolute best outcome at the top and the worst at the bottom. Again, that's quite interesting. We've not had any alt text so far, and I know this is screen readable, but it's good to know that sort of thing, just describing what the table is. So there are clearly, it's like a ladder, so rungs, tiers of success. And I know it's going to tell us on this page that making the roll. We'll go to this now. So the making the roll, the main mechanic of this game is attribute plus skill plus two six-sided dice equals the result. And we try to match or beat the difficulty of the task. So, for example, if we were doing, say, an awareness, let's say awareness knowledge check. I'm just because okay. So you'd add 3 plus 5, so that is 5, and then you roll 2d6, and then maybe the difficulty is, I don't know, 10. So you need to roll on the d6, the 2d6 at least 5 or more, because you plus that thing, you plus the attribute on it. So sorry, losing my way. So you're adding the numbers together here, and then you're rolling the d6 to increase it. Right? So no murder hobos, exactly as Zen Hoodlum. And then you try to meet or did it. So then you've got that number in your head, say the 10. Say we rolled over it, we pass just here as a success. We've managed to do it. Our total result is over 10. But if we happen to have a 6 in one of the d6, you get like a super success. That's very exciting. You pass with a 1, but there's a complication, so there's a 1 in the dice as well. So there's lots of bits to it. So not only are you adding attribute and skills together, you're rolling dice, you're looking at this tiered thing, and did you happen to get a 6 or a 1 on your dice? That is a lot, I think. Certainly if you're first playing a role-playing game, and maybe if, again, this is targeted at lots of audiences as well. I mean, this is what I'm interpreted it as. Like, looking back at it now, I get this now. When I first looked at it, I was like, oh, I have to explain to people, like, when you roll, you're like, great, I got a 7. I was like, okay, is it added anything? No. But I did get a 6. So it's how do we change that language to be like, oh, so the difficulty, I have to be, as the GM, okay, the difficulty in total is 10. You've already got a 5. So you need to roll 5 or more on the 2d6. And you go, I do pass, and oh, I got a 6, So it's just having that conversation and being as communicative communicative as possible rather than like constantly doubting. You see what I mean? So I think there's just a lot in the thing. Like, I like it now, but when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, no thanks. So yeah, as you can see here, you pass, and there's like 3 tiers of success with the passing, and then if you fail, there's the same thing, but tiers of failing as well, depending on if you've got a 6 or a 1 in those dice rolls. I'm sure there was more to it in the first edition as well, but I just remember when I looked at it, I was like, how am I going to explain this to people? It was a bit confusing at first. Yeah, exactly, said Hoodlum. Like, again, I think, again, it's one of those things like, would this be, it's a starter set, right? Is this a game you want to introduce to someone who's just new to role-playing? It's aimed to do so, but I think with a system like this, again, you just need to think about how would it best do it. And maybe, again, the scenario that we're going to look through, maybe the way it's baked in is going to have some work, some like script or some way of like for us to say to players, okay, so now we're going to do this, you know, and help it out a little bit. But I get it now that I look at it. But yeah, it took me a little while to get it as well. So the same basic rule for every action. So this is the thing. At least you don't have different roles for different actions. Yeah, attribute and skill, the dice. Yeah, make a special note if you rolled any 1s or d6s. And then which attribute or skill do I use? Sometimes it's obvious which one you should use, and in the adventure will give you advice to help. However, sometimes there are maybe 2 attributes or skills that could be used equally well. There's a play example there. You choose whatever you're best at, or the game master chooses whichever is more appropriate for you in terms of tasks. So that's interesting, because normally the game master's like, I want you to do like an awareness athletics roll or something like that. I think it's like, what do you think, you know, it's that conversation and making it more collaborative, like what do you think your character would do for this moment? And it gives the choice of like, oh, what do you think I'm best at? Or you'd be like, actually, I think it's this. I'm actually not very good at that. You know, that's okay as well. I'm always a big fan of players not necessarily like min-maxing every role they do. I always think their character sheet should be like a jumping off point rather than like the guidelines, not rules. You know what I mean? Oh, come on, my mouse is acting up. All right, but that's it. Those are like the basic rules then and there, right? So, interesting. So let's look at them in context. Let's go to the Timeless Library. So like I said, this is the starter scenario. It's the one that you run through, and then the echo chamber is the one if you're continuing on this front. Maybe we'll have time to look at the echo chamber, but I'm not, again, I don't want to spoil lots of things for you. I just want to get through and see what we can see through this one. And again, maybe change my view about these starter sets in general. So, the other thing to say is that this scenario, this little booklet, is about 48 pages as well. So it's probably, come on, mouse. Echo Chamber is about 65 pages as well, and you can tell I had a quick look through. They love their broken glass, don't they? Alright, here we go. So we're going to start in, I'm going to zoom in, and we've got, okay, being all right on time as well. So, the Doctor Who role-playing game. Welcome to Doctor Who, the role-playing game. You probably already know of the Doctor. She looks human, but she has 2 hearts, and when she's badly injured, she can regenerate into a completely different body. She travels through time and space in her ship called the TARDIS, which stands for Time and Relative Dimension in Space. I always say dimension in space. Some people say dimensions. I don't think that's right. However, you may not know what a role-playing game is. Role-playing games are shared storytelling where you and a group of friends get together and experience your own Doctor Who adventures. Everyone plays a character. There's no board, but if your characters try to do something tricky, you roll dice to find out if they succeed. Oh, what's the other thing I do want to mention? And maybe it's the same in this one. I can't tell, and I don't remember. There wasn't a starter set for the first edition, although I'm sure people will remind me if there is. You can play the Doctor. Certainly in the first edition, it was like, but I want to play the Doctor. And in my head, no one should play the Doctor. Which I know sounds silly, because you got all these pre-gen characters, and none of them are the Doctor or a Time Lord or anything like that. But I don't. Again, it's something for each table, but I think for me, I personally like Doctor-like episodes in Doctor Who, because then it's like, well, how do we, as the companions or the assistants or mundane folk, try to solve what's going on without necessarily without the sonic screwdriver or without the Time Lord being able to go back and forth. So, and I think this is the same thing here. Like, I assume the Doctor is going to appear in this, but it's not going to be like I will fix everything for you. I think it's going to be like, come and rescue me sort of mission. But I just wanted to mention that, because in the first edition, it was like anyone could play the Doctor, and I was like, No, not at my table. I play the Doctor. As the GM, I play the Doctor. As you're not limited to by a board, you can do anything, go anywhere. All of the action takes place in your imagination, and the story is told through your interactions. One player knows the story and what the villains are plotting, guiding players as they explore and describe their fantastic encounters. That player is called the Game Master, and they are like the writer or director of a Doctor Who episode. I always say this. I really like having names for like your GM or your players and stuff like that. Like we had it last week. We had a few really good, like the director and the cast and all that sort of thing. I don't know. It's tricky for this one for sure. You don't want to be called the Doctor as the Game Master, do you? But you know, and also I feel like companions is a little bit dicey, perhaps. So I don't know. I would definitely always like people having names for their characters, like they are the companions, they are the assistants, the Time Lords, you know, all that sort of thing. So I don't know. So I would have liked a really cool name, like maybe TARDIS director or something, or showrunner. Showrunner probably would have been it, wouldn't it? So the best way to learn how to play a role-playing game is to actually play it. Yes. Also read it. To make this easy as possible, the Timeless Library guides you through your first game, explaining the rules as you go. As the adventure introduces new elements, you'll find the rules to get you playing alongside them. Not only does this get you up to speed with how the game works and lets you take part in an exciting adventure, the Timeless Library, is also the start of a longer, more involved campaign where the Doctor's very life is at stake. This can lead on to further adventures. You'll find additional adventure ideas that can continue the character stories at the end of this book. Showrunner. Awesome. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily the best, but that's how I would put it in my head. Well, thank you. Trip of a lifetime. So the Doctor Who role-playing game requires one player to be the Game Master, whilst everyone else controls a single character. In Doctor Who, the role-playing game starter set, I feel at this point, just call it I don't know, an acronym or something like that, because that's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? But I understand, again, it's not necessarily meant for reading aloud. You'll find a handful of pre-generated characters for the players to choose from an IT technician to a music hall artiste, from the Victorian London to a scaly Silurian scientist from a distant colony, or an android from a defunct space station. Oh, the investigator doesn't get a look in then. Okay. You'll notice no one is playing the Doctor. There's a very good reason for this. The players will have to investigate to find out what happened to her and where she is. Once the players have all their selected characters, they can look over the character sheets and familiarise themselves with who they're going to be. You can run this adventure with 3 to 5 players, so not all the characters need to be present. If you still want to use all the characters when playing with a smaller group, you can always have the remaining characters along for the ride as non-player characters, or NPCs, that the Game Master controls if they are feeling up to it. We recommend you use the same skills, distinctions and backgrounds for the characters, but anything else about them can be changed. Whilst we have suggested pronouns, the players can use whichever pronouns they want for their characters, as backgrounds and names can work for any gender. I guess so, yeah. Sam, and then Charlie was the other one. Yeah, sounds good. Their equipment lists are not intended to be exhaustive, so it would make sense for a character to have a piece of equipment not listed there. They can absolutely have it. Always have their car keys. Some characters, as the Game Master tips box at the bottom. Oh, you see, actually, look at that. There's a bit of texture. You can just about see it on the screen. I like it, the little hexagonals. Very nice. Some of the characters come from other time periods like Victoria London or the future of human empire, or from weird and wonderful places like an alien undersea research base or an abandoned space station. Don't worry too much about getting all the details about Silurians or Victorian technology right. It can be more fun deciding it as you go. 100%. So, the Game Master. So the Game Master is the player who starts the conversation by describing to the other players what is going on, works out what actually happens after the dice are rolled, and has the final say on how the rules come into play. The Game Master knows the story of the adventure, and together with the other players, they create an epic episode of Doctor Who. Roll credits. The Game Master also determines the action and speaks for all the non-player characters and villains in the adventure. You guys can still see this. Excellent. Rolling dice. Most of the game is played by simply talking, describing your actions, what your character is saying, and how they try to solve the mystery. However, at any time you want to do something where there's a chance you might not succeed, you'll need to roll some dice. You'll find 3 traditional 6-sided dice in this box set. bit awkward when it's not physical, but okay. When you attempt to do something tricky, whether it's jumping over a gap between buildings, which you should never do, it's terrifying. Disarming a starship's weapon system while sneaking past a couple of sentry robots, you roll 2 dice and add the value of the attribute and skill from your character sheet. To succeed, you have to beat a number defined by the Game Master. Other factors can come into play, such as special abilities you may have, and spending story points to change the outcome. Story points. So characters have a number of story points they can use to bend the outcome of rolls in your favour. They can literally be a lifesaver. Players can quickly earn and spend story points during the game, and you always need to know how many you have. You can find a sheet of tokens which help you keep track of story points in the box. Look on your character sheet to see how many story points your character starts with and take that many tokens from the pile. Oh, okay. Oh, 12. Ooh, Sam's doing all right. Oh, 12 for Charlie. Oh, only 8 for Chamberlain. Oh, no. 11 for Aiden. Triketh has 8 as well. Why do the ones that aren't from Human Earth have less story points? Maybe they've got better abilities, perhaps. Sam the man gets the most. Oop, wrong page. Let's get a shift on. Oh, actually, that's a good point. So let's talk about story points. Having like a physical sheet of story points. So they use these tokens here. Again, it makes sense if you have a physical thing that you would have these things, but do you need them as a PDF? It's so tricky. I feel like I can count it, but maybe it feels sorry, words not my strong point. Distinctions, yeah. I feel like the having these having physical items to spend feels more real, gets you more immersed, and like it feels like you're there at the table. So I absolutely get that. Online, you don't need them as much. You just make a note of them, etc. And I'd say you don't need tokens to play. You could just easily make a mark of it and count it off. But I do think having these elements of tokens or cards or anything like that, it gets you into the game. It feels more, it's tactile. It makes you feel like you're part of the thing. So I understand why they have it, but I don't know if it's relevant. Like, unless I was gonna print these out and like show people, I don't think there's a point in it. So that's another thing to think about as well. This particular starter set, obviously, it's written to be printed. It's written to be like the same as if you bought the physical copy, and I don't think it's. I feel like, you know, certain things won't come into play, perhaps. Like I said, like the story points, you don't necessarily need that in the PDF on the online version. Do you see what I mean? So I wonder if you need to have like a different versions of like, here's how you play online and a little bit more streamlined. Jelly babies? Oh, that would be good. Okay, you've won me over, Zen Hoodlum, having jelly babies as the story points, but then you give them to the other person, or you spend them to the game master or the showrunner, as we're calling them now. You go, actually, I want to bump up my roll to be like a barely successful. And you go, okay, and then you just eat the jelly baby. Okay, you've won me over. It has to be jelly babies over actual tokens. You have your dice, you have your characters, and some story points. You're ready to start. Time to hop on aboard the TARDIS and embark on your first Doctor Who adventure. So it's really that simple, right? When you again, we're only a couple of pages in, and they've just gone right. You've got everything. Let's get started. So again, I can imagine it being great to just get in there and get going with all the setup. So, Game Master tips. So, role-playing games can be thrilling, moving, and terrifying, but it is important that everyone at the table, including you, feels safe and welcome. Take a few minutes at the start of the game to ask the group if there's any content they would like to avoid, and make it clear that people can mention things that make them feel uncomfortable during the game as well. It means that players will be more relaxed and comfortable, and you can be more confident about what you can include. If any content in this set is something that you or a player does not want to include in the game, then go ahead and change it however you want. The safety and fun of all players, including the Game Master, is our top priority. Excellent. Again, a nice little way to just seed in these safety tools and stuff and just be like, we don't need to have it. One thing I would like, I'm sure it's not going to show us on this, is like what kind of content, what is going to be in this. Presumably Daleks, presumably something about a library. Just have those sort of content things at the top of the scenario and go, okay, so these are the themes that are coming up. Does anyone feel uncomfortable about those sort of things? You know, and it doesn't matter what it is. So the Timeless Library is the first adventure in the Doctor Who Role-Playing Game Starter Set. It is an exciting introduction and presents the rules in an easy, bite-sized chunks as you need to know them in the adventure. The rules are presented in orange boxes, like the one you find on page 6, called Show Running the Doctor Who, How to Be the Game Master. And it also makes them easy to find, and they don't get lost in the action adventure. Okay, so maybe I'm going to walk back a little bit on the orange box. It's obvious. I think the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, I think they were like a greyish like tinge, and that world, the vibes of those worlds, it's all doom and gloom, a bit grey anyway. So I was like, I can't find any of the rules. So okay, so they've explained why we can find the rules like this. Okay, cool. And I guess as well, orange. If it was like in red or green, that would be colour blindness sort of awareness as well. So it's orange stands out. Sure. The rules are very simple, and you'll also find the handy test reference sheets in the box. So that's the reference sheets we were looking at before, for when you need to double check anything quickly. There are some major plot twists planned in the adventure, especially if you're intending to continue the story into the Echo Chamber, so only the Game Master should read further. This means if you're going to be a player in this adventure, stop reading now! Alright, so, spoilers from here on out. We're going to have a quick look through, and we'll go through as much as we can. But yeah, if you want to play this game, look away now. So, getting started. The Timeless Library Story is a starter adventure that introduces new game masters and players to the rules, letting you learn how to play the game as you actually play it. It has an easily understood plot and feels like an episode of Doctor Who. So about 45 minutes with some ad breaks. With plenty of investigation and action, helping the innocent escape a horrid fate. A horrible fate, even. As you progress through the adventure, we'll introduce more rules as you need them. You'll soon have all the information you need to take on the most dangerous threats to the universe and explore all of space and time. Before you start, read this first sheet so you know what the components are. Nah, we don't need to do that. Make sure everyone has read their character sheets over and has enough story point tokens, and you're ready to start. So, the summary adventure. Oh, this adventure summary, sorry. Take a bit of water. So, the Doctor has disappeared and you are the only ones who can save her. The Timeless Library starts right after the characters have encountered the TARDIS for the first time. They are unknowingly thrown into a virtual reality game called Lotos, which recreates the Doctor's memories of a library of, Carenthane, a vast alien archive that has been lost for centuries. The characters must navigate various challenges to escape simulation, rescuing the head librarian and other librarian staff, evading fearsome things known as the Iron Death that stalks the halls, and reprogramming the library's time fields to shunt the entire facility out of time. As they save the library, the Doctor's voice tells the characters they need to wake up, and they find themselves in the control room of the TARDIS, surrounded by purple crystals. Ooh, how exciting. I like that. I will say, at the top, just because I know I'm bad at pronunciations, what would be nice, as always, if they've got new aliens or anything like that, they have like a pronunciation guide. Catharen, I think, is what that species is. I would love to know if that is correct. I don't think it is. But always pronunciation guides, just in case. It's always helpful, especially if your second language is English as well. So what's really going on? As part of her investigations into the disappearance of a Silurian noble called Lady Zemra, the Doctor has wired... I'm just going to... Hang on 1 second. My mouse is acting up. It's probably about to die, so I'm going to charge it up quickly. How boring this content is. There we go. Hooray. The Doctor has wired psychoactive crystals and a virtual reality headset into the TARDIS systems. Unbeknownst to the Doctor, the crystals grow at a much faster rate when they are in contact with the TARDIS energy, causing it to act erratically, as the crystals further colonize its interior. Worse than that, the Doctor has been kidnapped by the creator of this technology, a powerful psychic or alien called Poppy Purdue. Interesting. Sounds cool. Yeah, does this not sound like a really good episode of Doctor Who? Like, again, you've got aliens, you've got so, a library. I always like. I mean, we all love Silence in the Library. I think it's one of the better episodes of season 4. Of the newer old season, new season. You've got enough to go on, interesting, and it's nice and short and simple. This kind of very simple story, easily understood. I love it. Poppy Purdue. What an interesting name. Again, is that a Time Lord of some sort? Usually is. Okay, so show running Doctor Who, how to be the Game Master. So being the Game Master, as the Doctor would say, is brilliant. To get to be the director of your own TV show, like the showrunner of Doctor Who. Yes, you too could be Russell T Davies or Stephen Moffat or Chris Chibnall. You shape the stories, play as all the cool NPC the characters meet, and have an endless budget for spectacular sets, locations, and special effects. Well, unless you're playing like the Zoom call or the Foundry, I don't know. Don't have that much budget. But maybe it's the budget of the mind, friends. You don't have to deal with like BBC executives or Disney Plus like demands for must have a musical number, Not only are the showrunner, but you can write your own adventures, not just the ones we've provided here. You're the camera operator too. You can frame scenes and point the spotlight at the most dramatic and exciting moments, skipping over any slow bits. True. I would say having a few slow bits intermingled with the fast bits is actually quite good. It's okay to have a bit of a slow burn scene, as long as, we get back to the action and it's not just a constant like spotlight on one or two characters. The one thing you don't have control over is the character players. This is where it gets even more brilliant. While you set the scene for the adventure and know where the story goes, the players can solve the problems ahead of them in their own unpredictable way, making every story unique. You describe what the character can see, hear, smell, and so on, and they describe what their character wants to do. You work together to determine if they are successful, sometimes through the outcome of a dice roll, if there's a chance they may fail. To make everything easier for you, we describe the NPCs and how they act, and we've included descriptions of all locations. Excuse me. Ooh. Don't worry if the players decide to do something strange or different. A big part of role-playing game is improvising on the spot and collaborating with other players to build a fantastic Doctor Who story. Doctor Who's always in bold, isn't it? In case we forget what game we're playing. Jodie. Hello, Jodie. So Purdue... we're carrying on from it. Purdue runs the Lotos company on Earth that made the VR headsets. Poppy has used the Doctor's memories to create the VR game using a chamber of psychically active purple crystals from a distant planet to keep the Doctor trapped. The Doctor has sent out a distress call to all characters in their dreams using the crystal's extensive psychic network, but she is unable to stay lucid for long, leaving the TARDIS to recruit the characters from across space and time. Oh, cool! So the TARDIS will come and pick you up. I like that. When they step into the TARDIS, the characters are overwhelmed by the crystal's ability to draw people into an unconscious state. They find themselves in a reality patched together from the Lotos game Poppy's based on the Doctor's memories, and the Doctor's own experience of what really happened. These jarring memories keep intruding into the scenario as she fights to make contact with the characters and gain their help. This scenario is a great chance to introduce the players to the rules of the game and give them opportunities to try out things in a safe environment. Any sort of harm that comes to the characters disappears at the end of the simulation. I see. Okay, so it is like a tutorial training mode level. If any of them die, they wake up back inside the library near the other characters a few moments later. Story points and other non-physical resources expended during the course of the adventure are still expended when they wake up. Nice. So, Game Master Tips. So setting the scene at the start of the game session is important for establishing the mood of the game. Maybe you dim the lights or play some quiet music in the background. It can be a bit scary when everyone's waiting for you to start talking, so when you see italic text like the paragraph opposite, it means that we've provided a scene description for you to read aloud to the players. It can also be fun to describe the scene in your own words, so do whatever you feel is most comfortable with. A TARDIS Uber. Yes, exactly. I like that idea. And I think that's always a cool way to introduce people to it. Like, again, this is the thing with Doctor Who companions, is that, often you see them at the beginning, they're going about their mundane life, doing stuff, and they're always like, I'm just waiting for something more. And then that's where you see the TARDIS comes in. So that's quite cool. Again, the question here though, maybe it's going to answer it in a little bit later, is that do all the people know each other beforehand, or have they travelled with the Doctor before? Like, I guess that's something I would include in character creation, is like, have you travelled with the Doctor before? Is this your first time? What is it that makes you special to stand out to the Doctor? I presume it assumes that you know the Doctor at least, but do you know the other characters? Which will be quite fun. I will say that having 5 companions all at the same time, including the Doctor, is wild. And a lot of work. Not saying it can't be done. We've had three companions at one time. Maybe we've had 4? Can't remember off the top of my head. So you had Nissa, you had... Oh, not Janet, that's not what she's called. We had Nissa, Turlo... No, Turlo was different, wasn't it? Edric, and the Australian flight attendant, whose name I cannot remember. Clever story hook. Yeah, I think so too, Zen Hoodlum. Okay. Just one visit, so you've decided to run the Timeless Library for a one-shot adventure and do not wish to carry the story further. The ending changes a bit. Rather than being trapped by Poppy in the echo chamber of purple crystals, the Doctor was investigating the crystals in the Lotus Reality headset and trapped herself in the crystals network by accident. When the characters wake at the end, they realise that the Doctor has been encased in a mass of crystals inside the TARDIS and you can free her. In this case, you may wish to have the Doctor more present throughout the adventure. You could have the characters see visions of purple crystals growing over their fingers, or catch the sight of the Doctor as a distant figure wandering the halls ahead of them, just out of reach. I like that. I like that, okay, it's like, okay, there's no way we're going to continue this. Like, for me, I feel like the original ending is fine, but if they want to just do a nice summary up, if you're doing it for content or something like that, this is a great way of changing it. I like this suggestion. Ooh, do androids dream of blue police boxes? So Chamberlain units are not supposed to have the capacity to dream, but whilst they are in recharge mode, their processors clear junk data from the minds, and they experience flashes of consciousness like the dream states of other beings. Chamberlain's processor is not normally capable of imagining things they have not already encountered, so this is a particularly unusual experience for them. That's very good. Zen Hoodlum says, I think there's a table for connecting characters in the book. Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, I'm just thinking about it beforehand. I like this, though. Already answering a question that I hadn't really considered, because we don't normally have android companions. So I like that. I think that's quite cool. To justify why this is happening. So to kick things off, read this aloud or summarise it for your players. So, you've all had the same dream a couple of times. You're standing in front of a dark blue box, bigger than the person, and a strange sound fills the air. The only way to describe it is a vorp. The door opens, but all you see beyond is a bright light beckoning you inside. Do bright lights beckon? I don't know. A voice echoes in your mind. Please help me. I need you. The universe needs you. When you wake up, you can remember it so clearly. That didn't feel like a dream at all. On the back of the TARDIS sheet, on the back of the character sheet, you'll find a scene describing the character's first encounter with the TARDIS. Oh, okay. We'll look at that in a second. They're going about their everyday life, whether it's doing IT maintenance in modern London or chasing down criminals on the mean streets of Sayers Drift. Their lives are about to get a whole lot weirder. The characters can read the character's scenes aloud before moving on to the dimensionally transcendental or quietly to themselves, summarising what happened when they discussed their experiences with each other inside the TARDIS. Well, that's quite cool. Let's, Chamberlain, our new favourite person. Let's have a look. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So, then I'll move this. There we go. Alright, it's tiny, tiny writing, isn't it? Zooming in. There we go. Oh, no. Oh, no. Ah, it's because I mucked up. Okay, so this is on Chamberlain's sheet. So we have this introduction here. So you are making your rounds on Phaeton, a luxurious but abandoned space station only occupied by androids and the station's AI, EOS. You walk the same route every day, so predictable and precise that your robotic feet have worn a furrow in the tiled floor. Oh, wow. This hallway looks entirely as it should be, nothing out of place. You reel off confirmations to EOS, though you don't know if he's listening. You never used to speak aloud as you check. The guests wouldn't have liked it, but you find it comforting these days. The wide sidewalks and lush furnishings are still grand, but despite your best efforts to keep everything in tip-top condition, the station is not as shined and luxurious as once it was. You report any wear and tear you see to EOS, passing by the other Chamberlain units also making their rounds. Your programming tells you that Theon needs to be ready for reopening for guests any day now. One thing is very obviously out of place. A large blue box making an unusual VORP sound. You scanned your data files for any record of this box on the station's inventory without luck. You'll have to go inside through the open door to see what it's all about. You step inside and the door closes behind you. That's cool. I like that a lot. I want to read some more. Let's go to... I want to see Charlie's. What does Charlie say? So, Charlie's says, you are in the dressing room of Chanson's music hall, though everyone else is on stage or in the wings. You're up next and you're putting on your theatrical makeup. As always, you have butterflies in your stomach, but you're excited to get in front of an audience. The stage director, Alfie, knocks at the door and tells you that it's 5 minutes till curtain up. You add the last dabs of grease paint, straighten your costume in the mirror, and pick up your props, only to hear a strange VORP sound from your dream, like nothing you've ever heard before. The wigs, costumes, and sheet music scatter around the room in a whirl in a sudden breeze. As a ripple of applause and laughter sounds from the stage, you turn to see that same blue box, its doors open. You step inside, and the door closes behind you. I like how they all end with that. You step inside and the door closes behind you. That's very cool. I really like that. Very, very cool. Okay, well, I won't read them all out, but I just wanted to check those out. I like that. I like that each of them are so individual, for that's how you first interact with the TARDIS. Very cool. Dimensionally transcendental. So you step into a large circular room filled with impossible technology. The walls are made of interlocking metal hexagons emitting a blue glow, and a series of orange crystalline pillars curl inwards towards the console on the platform in the centre. The area around you seems to be encrusted with purple crystals, a jagged mass of crystals covering the large area near the central control console. Openings lean towards further corridors, and you can see the incongruous panel door where you entered. Around you stands a group of strangers, all dressed very differently, looking as confused as you are. The VORP sound fills your ears, and the whole place shudders. The TARDIS has taken off. If the characters open the door, they will see the whirling, chaotic vortex all around, punctuated by nebula, galaxies, and starfields. The TARDIS lets them explore the corridors and a few rooms, including a wardrobe filled with infinite racks of clothes, a storage room with objects from the Doctor's travels, a room with wires dotted with glowing lights that move softly to watch the characters, and a room with glass tanks filled with luminescence almost invisible interdimensional fish. How cool is this, by the way? Here's just some rooms that you can just put into that, again, we don't normally see in the TV show. The characters can find these locations again if they want to pick out clothes to disguise themselves in modern London, or jury-rig a piece of tech. Communication devices, no matter where or when they come from, do not have any signal. Despite coming from different times and places, all the characters can understand each other perfectly, and they can understand the other people they encounter in their adventures. That's thanks to the Chameleon Servant. Yeah, another good one. Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually quite excited. I think it's actually well written, this scenario. And again, I will say, I tend not to read these scenarios because I don't want to spoil it for people. Actually, this has been so good so far. So I'm just touch wood, all the sort of things. So the consoles in the centre or the middle of the room are complex and chaotic, resembling plumbing more than futuristic technology. But there's something that makes sense now that they put it together. More than that, this whole place feels alive somehow, like it's responding to the character's presence. Gears move of their own accord, switches click into place. The controls are locked for now, moving off by their own volition. One area, near where the characters woke up, has a large purple crystals attached to the consoles and to a headset by wires. The purple crystals appear to have grown across large areas of the console than initially intended. They cover a good quarter of the TARDIS floor, towering over the characters. This is the first time the characters have met each other, so it's an excellent opportunity to get the players to describe what their characters look like. A good rule of thumb for the whole game is to go around the group and ask everyone what they're doing. That way, no one gets left out and you have a more complete idea of what every player wants to do. This is also a good chance to make their first dice rolls, as characters will undoubtedly be eager to learn more about their new environment. And here we've got some examples of that. Excellent. The characters can make checks to get a better understanding of the TARDIS. See the orange box on how to handle these checks as the Game Master. Here are some suggestions for the information they get. So, awareness plus technology, difficulty 12. Oh, that's quite high, isn't it? So if I was going to go to... I'm going to use Chamberlain. I like Chamberlain. So awareness plus... What was it? Maybe I'll zoom out a little bit on this particular sheet. Awareness plus technology. So Chamberlain has 3 and technology 4. Oh, 7. So only needs to roll a 5 or higher on the on 2d6. Nice. That's quite good. The controls are locked in place. Their functions are completely nonsensical, or rather, they make perfect sense, but only as a reflection of the mind their creator, whoever that may be. An awareness knowledge check. There are stories about a blue box and the being within. A doctor. A lord of time and space. She's said to help people, but is rarely seen without her trusty TARDIS. Something bad must have happened to her for the TARDIS to pick up new passengers. And then ingenuity plus technology is a difficulty 15. This must involve some dimensional engineering, which suggests that it is from a highly advanced culture. Triketh's scanning device can identify its energy signature as Artron energy, which is theorized to be associated with the time vortex. It follows that the ship designed for travel through time and space. Highly prized by collectors, but tech like this is hard to come by and even harder to acquire without getting yourself killed. Or worse. Awareness plus intuition, difficulty 12. It seems that the box has a mind of its own and is quite sure of where it is going. It also seems a bit erratic, though confused by something. And ingenuity plus knowledge, the clothes and the wardrobes and the objects in the junk room look like they've been from a huge variety of times and places, most of them completely unfamiliar to the characters. Whoever lives here must travel a lot. Okay, so that's 5 different examples of stuff. A lot of them, 3 of them are using awareness, 2 of them are using ingenuity, and then the mixture of technology and intuition. I guess because it's odd numbers. Got 3, 5, and 7s are always better as options. I think just give them 3. Just give them 3. Maybe like this idea of the, and they've got difficulty. There's one difficulty of 15, so I'd keep that one in. But these other ones are difficulty 12s. I think everyone. I know what it is. There's 5 characters, isn't it? There's 5 NPCs, so maybe it's like a mixture of the things. But honestly, I'd give them 3. I wouldn't want them to like. Oh, you've only got 4 out of 5. I want you to get one other person to roll. It's like, nah, don't worry about that. This column at the centre of the console moves up suddenly, and the console illuminates with wild lights and movements. A wave of dizziness comes over all the characters as the TARDIS comes to a stop, and the doors open. Although they could not perceive it, they have fallen unconscious and entered the virtual reality of the Library of Carinthian. I like that. Feels very much like, what's it called? The Dream Lord from Series 5. Which I thought was great. I love the Dream Lord stuff. So the Library of Carinthian. There is a bump, and the blue doors you remember from your dreams open again. You step out. Oh, there's a gap there. Look at that. Big gap. Cautiously into a large room with an expansive window looking out over a green night sky patterned with strange stars. A gleaming model of a solar system floats in the middle of the room, but it isn't Earth's solar system. Shelves line the walls, glowing faintly, filled with books, slates, electronic devices, and other stranger objects like glistening glass lattices and twisted wooden sculptures. But several doorways lead off from this room, each with its own weird painting on the wall beside it. That seems as though it has some important meaning you can't understand. A sign on the wall reads Astronomy Section. There is no sign of the blue box. Ooh, no! Oh, scary. A purple hologram of a woman with light hair and long pale coat appears in front of you. She says, "You made it! Welcome to the Library of Carinthian, one of the great wonders of the galaxy. This library has stopped communicating with the outside world and I need you to investigate. Someone came here looking for a weapon and killed everyone they found. They're bad news. Really bad." I like the idea of the players being able to use the clothes closet. Absolutely, I think because that's always a thing with companions when they go to like a cult. It's because I've been rewatching series 4 just now with Donna, and Donna comes out, she goes, and she's like in a dress that she had in Pompeii, and it's like goes out onto the Planet of the Ood episode, and she goes too cold and goes back in and gets dressed up, and they have that whole sort of thing of changing their outfits to fit it. Leela is also someone that's similar, so she'll get dressed in like Victorian clothes, and Leah's like, I do not like this corset. Here we go. The basic rules. So whenever a character wants to do something in Doctor Who, the role-playing game, not in bold there, and there's a chance they may fail, whether it's convincing someone, researching, creating some pseudo-science device, fighting, or piloting the device, it all comes down to the same basic rule. Attribute plus skill plus six-sided dice equals result. Try to match and beat the result of the task. Decide exactly what you want your character to do and describe it as best you can. This helps the Game Master determine how tricky the task is so they can assign a difficulty. In most cases in this starter set, the difficulty of any task is provided to help the Game Master along. The difficulty is the number the player has to beat to succeed the task. We reckon the average human should be able to succeed at something difficulty 9 more often than not. Choose the relevant stat and attribute and skill to use to try and accomplish the task. You can look at the attribute and skill reference sheet if you are unsure, though most tasks in the starter set adventures advise the Game Master which attribute and skills are best suited for any particular action. Okay, so you can be either or in that sense. Roll the two of the dice, and add the result to the appropriate attribute and skill. If the total is equal to or higher than the difficulty, you succeeded. If it's lower, you haven't managed to accomplish what you have hoped for. And there's a play example here. I never really read out the play examples because, unless I'm not entirely sure, but I think we've understood this so far. Where are we? Unskilled attempts. So anytime a character tries to do something that they don't absolutely have no skill in, the roll is at a disadvantage. Ooh, interesting. So simply roll 3 dice instead of 2 and discard the best one. That's interesting. I don't remember that before. I like it. I like it because you're attempting something that's like, solid, let's go. And also you've got the story points as well to help you if needed. Sometimes a task is so tricky or complicated you have to call in help. One character with the required skill takes the lead on a task. If helpers have a suitable skill that can assist, each provides a +2 bonus to the roll. Interesting. Here's the thing though. I guess the suitable skill is the thing that you'd have to like justify. Otherwise you could have like a +8 if everyone else gets involved, if you had all 5 people playing this. I do think that you should cap it to be like only up to 3 people can help you or something like that. Because a +2 bonus is pretty good. Only if you roll incredibly poorly would be the thing on there. Sometimes over the course of this adventure, we mention conditions that can change the difficulty of a task. For instance, scavenging the right set of tools could make a task easier, whereas being affected by mind-altering powers could make a task harder. If something feels like it should make a task harder or easier, we can reduce or increase the difficulty. We recommend changing the difficulty by 1 or 2 most of the time, and maybe 3 in special circumstances. Players are great with coming up with innovative approaches to tasks, whether it's something that they would give them a helping hand or use an entirely different skill altogether. If their idea makes sense in the story, adapt the challenge, reduce difficulty and give them advantage, or change the attribute or skill being used. Yeah, I like that. It's just encouraging you guys to play and like understand what's happening. I like that. Wait, have I missed some? That feels like a really bad news. Oh, okay. The survivors have locked themselves in the infirmary. You have to help them get to the shuttle bay so that they can escape. The librarians here use time-warping energy fields to protect the artifacts and books. I need you to kickstart the generator and use those time fields to shunt the whole place out of time. You're the only ones who can do this. You can do it. I have great faith in you. Then the hologram winks at big distance. So I didn't realise that was still continuing on this conversation. Again, I feel like if you have stuff that you're going to read out to players, I appreciate obviously we've got a big box that tells us what the main rule is, which obviously, again, if we have it... Actually, why don't I just check that, actually? I could put it 2-person. So you see, like, here... Oh, let me just zoom out a little bit. The fact I turn over and it's not here, I have to find it here. Like, again, would just put any bit of text has to be all together in a box so I can understand that this is what I'd be able to read aloud. That's the only thing I would say here, because I'm like, oh, it's on this side. Gosh. Right, get back to it. Librarian. There we go. And enhance, as always. Ooh. There we go. If the characters examine the shelves with a successful awareness science test, a difficulty of 9, they realise that the items kept in some sort of status field. This protects the collection from both time and damage, but also means they can't be touched without permission. With a suitably advanced scanning device, such as the one owned by Triketh, an awareness science test. Is it a science test? Is that what it's called? It's just called science. I guess it's just because it's old, that's why. A character can identify that this uses Artron energy. I don't know why I'm panicking. Found primarily in rare technologies that utilize time manipulation or time travel. The characters can also see small robots moving around the library, cleaning up after themselves and making minor repairs to damaged sections of shelves. They cannot communicate except through a series of clicks and chirps that only Chamberlain can understand. Other characters can make an awareness intuition test, which is a difficulty of 12, to understand the basics of what these robots are saying and communicate with them in return. Anyone who has established a communication method can make a presence convince test, difficulty of 12, to persuade them to stop and talk. One of the robots has been damaged, seemingly scorched by some sort of energy weapon. Though it was clearly a glancing blow, the damage could have been much more extensive. If the character makes an ingenuity technology test, a 9 to repair the robot, the difficulty to get the robots to talk is reduced to 9. Describing the character's first sight of the library of Carithian is a great chance to really draw your players in. Take your time and add any details you want. What other strange methods or data storage or storytelling might be stored here? Think about how it feels to be there. What is the smell of an ancient alien library? Nice, I like that a lot. The characters are in a virtual reality simulation based on the Doctor's memories of an ancient alien library, but it feels entirely real. The characters all look like they do in reality and have their usual equipment with them. As far as the characters, and hopefully the players are concerned, this is real. Triketh, Chamberlain and Aidan can make an ingenuity knowledge check at difficulty of 15. Oof. To recall that the Library of Carinthian on the planet of Feroniso famously disappeared with no explanation long ago. The robots have a fairly simple process in their programming compared to an android like Chamberlain, but can communicate that they are utility robots designed to provide upkeep for the Library of Carinthian. No, not Carinthian. Carinthian. They cannot be persuaded to disobey their programming by assisting the characters, and are unaware of anything else happening in the library, except the other areas have gone offline, and attempts to communicate result in an error message and a rudely negative bleep. The damaged robot cannot identify the beings that damaged it, but says that many other robots and patrons were destroyed when attacked with the same energy weapons. They refer any complaints or comments to the head librarian, Cawdor, but they do not know where Cawdor is. They also warn the characters that the library's automated security systems have been activated and are still functional in some corridors near this room. Cawdor is the only person with the authority to deactivate the security systems. I will move this over so people can see. The Rise and Fall of Carinthian. Built by a visionary and mysterious engineer called Technicana, the Library of Carinthian has a legend not unlike the Library of Alexandria on Earth, a mythologicalized collection of knowledge and artifacts tragically lost forever. The Library of Carinthian has inspired many people to build their own collections over the millennia, and claims of discovering the library's lost artifacts crop up across the galaxy, though none have ever been verified. The former site of the library itself has been an archaeological dig, a place of pilgrimage and worship, the home of an attempt to create a second library in Earth's second century. 22nd century. There you go. Sorry, I was wondering why I was like... What? And eventually a forgotten and abandoned place where once upon a time a great library stood. Technicana is considered more of a folk figure than a real person, especially when their greatest achievement disappeared completely. But stories of them as a trickster engineer abound. And they are seen as someone whose creations transcended mechanism to become art, or something indistinguishable from magic. And then so these are the NPCs. They're in a nice purple, so we can tell them difference. Nice, I like that. They've also got story points, which is good. How well have you done? I feel this should have come up with the rolling thing before, but let's talk about it now. So, not only should you see if the result is equal to or over the difficulty, but you should also look at the numbers on the dice themselves. If either of the dice come up with a 1 or a 6, it could mean you did really well, or not as well as you hoped. If either the dice was a 6, that's good. Things have gone better than normal. If you succeeded by getting a result over the difficulty, that 6 means not only have you succeeded, but you succeeded brilliantly. If you didn't succeed, or one of the dice shows a 6, the universe has been kind to you. You may have not succeeded as you initially planned, but it didn't go as badly as it could have gone. If you rolled 2 6s, you succeed brilliantly. In fact, even if your result isn't high enough to succeed, you still manage it as long as the game master agrees. So it's almost like a critical success if you roll 2 6s. That's quite cool. I like that. It says it here as well. Okay. If either die was a 1, then that's not good. Either your result is equal to or higher than the difficulty, you succeeded, but it wasn't as well as you hoped. You still managed to do it, but just not fantastically. If you failed and there was a 1 in the roll, your failure was pretty bad. You've actually made things worse. If your dice came up with both showing 1, that's a real disaster. Really, really bad. Even if you rolled high enough to succeed, something has gone wrong big time. If you roll a 1 and a 6, then the extra effects cancel each other out. Okay, I quite like that actually. And the idea is that you can like super critical success or super critical fail as a result. And we've got the little page here, the little sort of, I want to refer to it as the fate ladder, but I know it's not that, but that's what it reminds me of. So we've got, reading it from left to right, we've got 3 columns of rolling over the difficulty, what the result is, and the effect of if you succeeded or not. And the only thing I would maybe change to this is have like a line here of like, and say pass for the first top 3 and then fail for the bottom 1, just so we can actually see easily refer to which one you need to do. So we've got brilliant, success, barely, almost, failure, disastrous. The 6 layers of hell. Tag yourself. Disastrous as me. How are we doing on time? We've got about half an hour left, so we're going to keep going to see how far we get. We're only about 13 pages in. But we did the thing I wanted to do, which is to cover the main rules. And I'm sure we'll probably come up with a bit in a sec about the story points. So the artifacts of the library. So the Library of Carinthian is built to preserve artifacts and text by keeping them in a timeless state with localized time fields. These time fields are operated through a central control system called the Instrument of Knowledge. Ooh. And powered by an Artron energy generator. They're designed to make it impossible for people to directly interact with the artifacts, as they do not exist in the same time as a potential thief. If a character tries to touch an artifact, their hand passes right through it. The librarians and archivists of the Library of Carinthian have special keys that interact with an electronic panel on the side of the case to deactivate the field around a particular shelf or section. However, a sufficiently skilled thief or engineer could deactivate the field without a key. Any character who wishes to try and remove items from the shelf can make an ingenuity, subterfuge, or technology test, difficulty 15, that's quite high, to deactivate the panel and steal one of the artifacts. These artifacts are gadgets. See the orange box in a second. They have their own story points like a character. Some have limited uses, but spending one of the gadget's story points can refill it. Once story points inside the gadget are used up, the gadget is useless. When the character leaves the simulation at the end of the adventure, they lose the gadget when they wake up. Any character who dies and reforms inside the simulation has a gadget with them in the same state that it was when they died. Okay. As a rule, these items have less effect on Daleks, I wonder why that is, than on most other characters or materials. So, for instance, the Balhunian bodily fluids have little effect on a Dalek hull plating. Why are we talking about bodily fluids? But if used on a more delicate machinery, such as the eye stock or weapon, that component would cease to function. In most circumstances, the modified OO translation sphere would have no effect on a Dalek, but in this simulation, a successful attack with a sphere stuns the Dalek for 1 round. Oh, so I see. I get you. These Dalek-specific effects will become important later on. Well, I mean, you haven't given it away with a big Dalek picture on the front. So gadgets we've got the modified OOD translation sphere. So used on the OOD sphere, this metal sphere has a tube extending from it that normally allows an OOD to interact with verbal species. During the revolution of the OODs, these spheres became deadly weapons. This example has been modified to stun rather than kill, and then it goes into some examples there. Balhunian bodily fluid. This vial of sticky pale blue liquid is a galactic acid secreted by the Reverend Balhunian. It is a rare unguent that can burn through most artificial materials. When placed on a lock, barrier, or other object, it causes smoke and rapid degeneration of the material. Then we've got a Tivolian flag of surrender, a beguiling embroidered flag of bright rags that emits a faint psychic influence. This psychic field gives the person bearing a harmless appearance. Hostile beings will not attack the flag bearer unless they have no other enemy and will ignore the bearer until they pose a clear threat. Non-hostile beings trust the bearer more easily. Ooh, that's quite a nice magical weapon, isn't it? There we go, we've got one of the cat monks. Nice. A Tethy spike. An impossibly complex construct of liquid metal that seems to have its own personality. A Tethy spike can be directed to insert itself into any electronic device and aid its user in that device's operation. The user must speak their intention clearly to the device. If they're unclear, the Tethy spike will not move until it is given clearer instructions. When inactive, the spike curls around its owner's arm and feeds off the electrical impulses running through their skin. Tingly. I like the gadgets that have their own story points, absolutely. So like here, for example, the hacking of the Tethy spike, perhaps that's how you pronounce it, it reduces the difficulty of rolls by 3. But it comes exhausted after 3, so it has 3 uses. But then if we spend that story point, it refills them, so you can have almost like a short rest, essentially, which I quite like. One thing I would say is that I think you need to have this like have the boxes, so like uses 3 boxes, and then story points 1 box as well. Yeah, exactly, like the tingliness on it. Swath of Plentitude, a bandage created by the Sisters of Plentitude. Yes, Sisters of Plentitude. Here we go. For their work in New York Hospital. This gadget uses advanced medical technology to stimulate rapid healing over a small area of the body. So, for instance, a limb or an area of skin. Whilst the Sisters' contributions to medical science are remarkable, the unethical nature of their experiments should never be forgotten. How interesting to just mention that. I like that. That's pretty good. Navigating the library. So the first challenge. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 5 items. So again, you can all have 1 item each if you found it. But yeah, a nice bit of items. A nice copy for them. I really like that. The description of them. Excuse me. Okay, 25 minutes left. We're going to keep going. Navigating the library. So the first challenge is to navigate the library of Carinthian to reach the survivors in the infirmary. To locate the infirmary, characters can try a variety of approaches. They could use ingenuity plus knowledge, which is a difficulty 9, to interpret one of the complex, archaic maps painted on the walls near the doors. Another might be awareness plus intuition or medicine to work out that the infirmary would need to be somewhere accessible, so probably pretty central to the building. The difficulty here is quite low. We want to make it challenging, but not stop the players from reaching the next part of the adventure. Smart. Here we go, we've got something about gadgets here. So gadgets can do amazing things. The Doctor's Sonic Screwdriver, Aiden's Cyber Eye are gadgets, and they have a number of distinctions. Ah, this is what you were talking about before, Zen Hoodlum, aren't you? Just like your character has, and that can reduce the difficulty of the role. So, having a gadget isn't free. Gadgets reduce your maximum story points just like distinctions. Oh, that's what we were talking about before. So here we go. Distinctions, they're here. So that's why Chamberlain and Aiden, they have distinctions. They have equipment that reduces story points. Okay. I didn't realise that. That's good to know. I wouldn't have known that. I would have just been like, give them all points. Where was I? But this means that the gadget is rarely lost. The good thing is that if it goes missing or is broken, the gadget is assumed to be fixed or replaced at the beginning of the next adventure. After all, the Doctor's Sonic Screwdriver may overload and get fried or run out of power for an episode, but it's usually working again in time for the next adventure. Gadgets reduce your character's maximum story points by 1 for every distinction the gadget has. The gadget itself holds these story points, which can be spent to do something not normally covered by the gadget's range. Just like the character distinctions, a gadget's distinctions have benefits and flaws. So, temporary gadgets. So when creating a gadget in the middle of an adventure, the character makes an ingenuity plus technology roll. See, it's not tests there. Interesting. To ensure that they've tweaked the right bits and soldered the right connections, or the correct connections. The Game Master determines the difficulty of the roll based on how complex the device is. This also defines how long construction will take. An average item takes about an hour, with more complex devices taking far longer. They then spend enough story points to temporarily purchase the gadget. So for example, the Game Master determines that creating the timey-wimey detector, distinction 1, would be a difficult of 15. And if successful, the character spends a story point and decides what distinction the gadget has with guidance from the GM. Gadgets created in this way are temporary items, and story points used to create them are removed from your maximum. The gadget lasts as long enough for its designated task, and then they fizzle out, are destroyed, or run out of power. At which point, the genius who creates the gadget gets a story point they spent back on it. Oh, okay. That's quite cool. The gadget, as mentioned above, has distinctions that allow the characters to do things they couldn't normally do. Just like a character's distinctions, each has a flaw or a downside. Below is a list of some gadget distinctions to get you started, whilst any gadgets that appear in the Timeless library has their distinctions explained here. Okay. Interesting. I just want to check. Ooh. There it is. It's written here. So let's look at Aiden's eye. I just want to double check this because again, didn't really say it earlier, so I just wanted to double check these things. So, whoop. This. Okay, so the cyber eye, a gadget distinction, so it scans, able to scan and see inside an item, object, or organism. It reduces the difficulty of a roll to investigate, heal, or repair something or someone by 3. It cannot see through lead or dalactanium. Dalacalium? No, it got sweat. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Interesting. But what about? I want to look at these other distinctions. No distinctions. So I guess the distinctions are going to be on. And I bet the Silurian. Yeah, Silurian. There you go. Distinction. Very alien appearance and susceptible to cold. Naturally armored, so -5 to damage, and has a natural weapon, which is the poison tongue, range of 3 meters. A victim passes a strength resolve roll for every hour to avoid mutation or death. Experienced. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Alright. So we have force field, we have scan. I'm just going to move on because we don't need to read all these things out. We have teleport, we have transmit, we have unlock and seal, vortex. Gadget story points hold story points that can be spent to give you an advantage to tweak the outcome of a roll or do something extraordinary when the gadget is actively being used. When it runs out of story points, it's essentially out of power, broken, or out of actions. Characters can donate story points to fuel the gadget, or dramatic use of the item can mean it's awarded story points. So we've got some examples here. We've got the psychic paper, of course, sonic screwdriver, the vortex manipulator. Quite good. Again, some good examples that you'd see in the TV show as well. So that's good, having them written out here. And also I'd say as well, simple, like here's a quick description of it, what the distinction is, like what it can and cannot do, and what the powers of it, and then the story points about how much it has in it. Yeah, cool. Security measures. So, the corridor out on the astronomy section is currently guarded rather overzealously by the library's automated security system. It has measures to isolate, knock out, or slow intruders that the characters must navigate to proceed. Any of them that go out in the corridor must pass an awareness intuition test, difficulty 9, to notice the security cameras and trapped areas such as the vents that produce a tranquilizing mist see below. To get through this corridor without getting tangled with any of these measures, the characters must succeed on a coordination athletics test, difficulty of 12, with any character failing suffering one of 3 types of security measures. If they successfully escape the net, mist, or force field, they can get to the end of the corridor without triggering any further consequences, whilst the security system resets itself. You can choose which trap they encounter, or roll a die to randomize the encounter. So we have a net, which shoots out from the encampment and entangles the character, which, again, a way to escape it. Mist, a fine mist hisses from the vent in the character's immediate vicinity, causing them to become sleepy. You've got to move out the way or hold their breath until it dissipates. Failing the roll means the character is stunned and falls unconscious for 30 minutes, and then C, losing conflict. I don't know if we'll get to losing conflicts today, but that's okay. And force fields, so electric force fields extend from the walls between the characters in the corridor, barring them from moving forward. When touched, these force fields give an electric shock that does not do any harm but is uncomfortable. To make an ingenuity technology test to deactivate or overload, or resolve medical test to push through the field without taking harm. Oof. They take points of damage. The failure takes points of damage. I guess that depends on the level of success, right? Where is the health stuff in here? I don't think there is. Hang on. Zooming out. That's a good point, actually. I presume it's to do with hang on. Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? I think because we looked at it before, the damage and stuff comes from an attribute, right? Like if you lose like 3 points in an attribute, there's no hit points or anything. That's why I'm going to assume it's going to tell us on the next page properly. So that's fine. Again, would have liked that on an early. I think they do say it on the one of these sheets, right? No, not really. Okay. Using story points to succeed. Didn't go as well as you hope? If you imagine all the levels of success and failure as a ladder, players can spend a story point to move up one rung, turning a barely into success or a success into a brilliant result. But I think it said like if you fail, you can only get it to a barely. You can't keep spending points, right? Well, we'll find out. It's about to tell us here. Story points can be used to improve the results of a roll, but they can be used for so much more. The story points bend the laws of reality so your characters succeed where they would normally fail, or survive when they would normally have been killed. You can gain story points for acting in character and ensuring everyone has fun. Below are just a few ways to use story points in the system. You can find this on the story reference sheet, so we have a clue. So we have, I have no idea. If you get stuck and don't know what to do next, you can spend a story point, and the Game Master will give you a subtle nudge in the right direction. We only get one shot. You spend a story point and you instantly have advantage. Roll 3 dice and discard the worst. If a task is really, really crucial, you might spend an additional story point and roll 4 dice, discarding the worst 2, so double advantage there. Some characters have distinctions such as psychic powers or alien abilities. Activating a distinction requires a story point. And that was close. As soon as you failed something, you can spend points to improve the result. It's supposed to be done straight away after a failed result. The story point bumps up the result 1 level in favour. 1 point per level means you can move from disastrous to barely result with 3 story points, but you cannot improve a roll higher than the barely result if you have failed. It's just a scratch. You can heal injuries in exchange for story points at suitable quiet moments, or if the character needs extra boost before the story's climax by restoring the host's or restoring by restoring lost attribute points or ignoring conditions. Spending a story point restores half rounded down of an attribute lost to an injury or complex. Yes, we're going to get... Maybe what I'll do, I might skip ahead to that page 28 so that we can actually see the conflict stuff, because I feel that's going to be quite important, and it's kind of more interesting. As much as I love reading through this adventure, because I think it's quite a good adventure so far. You can also spend a story point to ignore negative effects of one condition. Gadgets as well have story points. An unskilled character can also do amazing things with story points. If you've been shown exactly what to do by someone with a skill, you do not have you spend a story point and effectively have the same skill of the person who showed you how to do it. You can ignore disadvantage and using your character's attribute and the tutor's skill, which I like. It only lasts for one scene, and you cannot get a result higher than a success. Yes, correct. Excellent. Good to know about the attribute stuff. So gaining story points, so again, some examples, we've looked at all this before, and then losing story points. There are at times when the characters have to defend themselves, but the game master knows that when you're doing the right thing. However, killing in cold blood is very wrong, and the characters lose all their story points. The game master may even deduct half of all the other players' story points if they should have stepped in to present it. Oh, there she is. Amazing. No alt text, unfortunately. Oh, it's conflicted roles here as well. Still recovering from your sprint through the library's security system, you enter a long room filled with bookshelves and absolute chaos. The ceiling has partially collapsed, and many of the shelves have crashed into one another, creating a domino effect. Books are scattered in all directions, and the status field on the shelves frizz in and out or entirely broken. At the far end, where the ceiling debris has fallen, you hear a roaring, crashing sound interspersed with angry single-syllable words. An awareness intuition check tells characters that the security measures in the room have been damaged to the point that they are not functional. Now, at the far end of the room, Cawdor, the head librarian, has been trapped in the cataloguing room by a pile of debris that's landed against the door. If the characters try and talk to her through the door, she is angry that even with her great strength, she is unable to open the door. I think because we saw that image earlier when we were looking at the thing. Cawdor, I think, is from the same lineage as Chanto, who is shown in Utopia, I think, which is cool. I like that. If a character makes a presence convince test resisted by Cawdor's resolve intuition test, see contested roles, which is going to be on this right side, but to persuade Cawdor to calm down, she answers questions about the library rather than just raging at her situation. She introduces herself and explains that, per the rules of the Library of Carinthian, Article 24, Item 8, the head librarian can request assistance of registered users to the library in case of life-threatening emergencies. Unfortunately, the characters are not currently registered users of the library. That's so typical. So typical. Cawdor can register them officially and slide their library cards under the door so she can officially request their assistance. Alright, let's read what it says here for contested roles. So, conflicts are when you're trying to do something and someone is actively opposing you. Luckily, it's just like a normal task, only the difficulty is determined by the opponent as they're trying to stop whatever you're doing. The Game Master states that what the non-player character is trying to do and makes a roll on their behalf. This is what the characters have to beat, setting the difficulty the players roll by opposing them. Players can decide what they want their characters to do, and the GM determines that what the NPC is doing to prevent it, looming to attack, opening fire, dodging, and so on. Both sides work out what attribute and skills they are using, relating to their planned action. The Game Master adds the attribute and skill to the die roll and works out the result using this as a difficulty for the player's roll. Yes. Okay, I get this. If the player fails, the opposition prevails and takes the action. If the player's result is higher than the character succeeds, then their intended actions go ahead, and you agree that with the GM what exactly happens. This is done for any conflict, from fighting to deceiving, from arguing to mind control. Great, let's just keep it as simple as possible. Phew. Advantage. Me. If your character has the advantage, the enemy is surprised. You're hiding, you're taking your time, you have a device that helps. Instead of rolling 2 die, roll 3 die and discard the lowest. Similarly, if your character is at a disadvantage, so you're in a hurry, the target is over 20 meters away, moving at speed, roll 3 die instead of 2 and discard the one with the highest dice. Only counting the 2 remaining. Dead simple, straightforward, excellent. Tell you what, I'm going to move on because I can see we've got 10 minutes left. Oh, Cordor, no, it's a Jadoon librarian. I am so sorry. Amazing. Oh, a Jadoon librarian. Mwah. I love that. Amazing. So we'll skip through a little bit. Sorry we didn't get to go through all of it. So far, I've actually quite enjoyed reading through this particular thing. Maybe it's because I haven't necessarily, there's a little peek behind the curtain for me. I haven't enjoyed all of the most recent season. I was very excited for it, and I feel it could have been better. But having stories like this makes me very excited. Let's look at extended conflict. Let's do that, and then we'll finish off the stream if that's all right with people. So extended conflict. So if the situation is more intense or involved, such as a chase or a fight scene, you may wish to break it down into a series of actions. Not only does this add tension, but also allows everyone to create more involved and exciting scenes at the table, and as tables turn quickly with a good or bad roll. So first of all, we set the scene, describing the location as best as we can, and so that everyone knows where their characters physically are. So again, here it's like more theatre of the mind than anything else. The conflict is broken down into rounds. Decide what everyone is planning on doing for that round, and the game master decides what the adversaries do and in what order things occur. So who goes first? So each character can take one action at a time. They act in the order below. It's a bit like Land of Eam initiative, okay. Depending on what they do. So talkers go first, then we've got movers, then we've got doers, and then we've got fighters. Nice. What does it say? Oh, interesting. If 2 or more people are intending to fight or to run, the characters go in order of the highest attribute used. Nice. If they both have the same level of attribute, highest skill goes first. If they are like in every way, the actions are simultaneously. I think I think this makes more sense if you're against an enemy, perhaps. But I think just say, oh, you go. Oh, you go. You know, like, just talk about it like that. I think that's just easier. Slims it down even more. When it is their turn, the characters attempt their actions. If someone resists a character's actions, there is a reaction to determine how hard it is for the player to act. Whether this is parrying a sword, dodging a Dalek's weapon fire, or countering an argument to stop a war committee from making a terrible mistake, these defending actions are called reactions. These work in the same way as any other contested roll. The defending character makes the reaction first, setting the difficulty for the attacker. Characters typically only take reactions if they are aware of the opponent's impending action. You only get one action in the round, but that doesn't mean you won't be targeted more than one conflict. You get your action as normal, but every other different action or reaction you take in a sequence, such as shooting or shouting, is at disadvantage. If any of these additional actions is a reaction against a form of attack, the attacker also has advantage. Oh, okay, this could get quite complicated. So you have your action, and then is your first reaction free? Or is as soon as you do your action, or if you do your reaction first, and then you're like, oh, now I get to do my action, like, we'll read out the play example. Oh, my voice is going. So, for example, Sam is running from a group of the Iron Deaf, and he's hoping to hack into the library's computer with his mobile phone to close the door behind him. His first action is to try and access the library's computer network on his phone, which he is doing. He rolls that as normal, and the Game Master puts him at a disadvantage for doing so whilst running. However, he's also getting shot at by one of the simulation Daleks. One opens fire and he dives out the way, but he's already acted in his round, so his reaction is also at disadvantage, and the Dalek's roll is to hit is advantage. There you go. That is good to know. I would have got that wrong. You can make more than one reaction roll in a round, suffering that disadvantage, but there are multiple times when your reaction counts against multiple attacks. Once you're leaping about and dodging, you're harder to hit for everyone who's shooting at you. You don't need to try to avoid every single shot. The reaction roll accounts for every similar attempt against you in that round. Okay, good to know. So for continuing that example, Sam has stopped running to concentrate on getting his mobile phone to hack into the library computer systems, but the Daleks are still shooting at him. The doing comes first, so hacking computer is rolled as normal. Then comes the fighting phase. The Daleks open fire and Sam dodges, jumping for cover. He's already acted this round because of the doing thing, so his reaction is at disadvantage. He only needs to roll once, and that result sets a target for all 3 of the Daleks trying to hit him. Right. And then we've got the extended summary here, so talkers, movers, doers, fighters. And then do it all again. Nice. Okay. Maybe we should look at this one before we end. So we're losing a physical conflict versus a mental conflict. So most of the time, injuries can be prevented with the careful expenditure of story points, or the injury is so small there is no heavy paperwork involved, just to remind the character of that twisted ankle or pain in their shoulder when they move. If injuries are severe enough, 1 or more of the character's abilities are reduced, which ability depends on the actual source of injury. Getting shot means you could lose strength or coordination if it's in a limb, or possibly resolve. Sources of injuries, including weapons, have a value to indicate the damage that the player would normally take. This is usually in the form of S or L. So, for example, a 9mm pistol could with a damage value of 2, 5, and 7. And a Dalek Ray has the value of L is probably lethal, right? I can see it over there. L is lethal. 4LL. Most sources of injury are presented with 3 numbers. This indicates how many points of damage that character suffers and how much it reduces the ability due to the injury. Most numerical damages are presented as N, emboldened N, and N. This represents the normal value for damage as well as half and 1.5. This is with the success and failure. I see. Comes in. So, for example, a weapon with a value of 3, 6, and 9 would normally do 6 levels of damage for a success to hit, or a failure when trying to avoid getting hit. But it would only do 3 levels of damage for a barely result, and a dangerous 9 levels of damage for a brilliant result. Interesting. S stands for stun, meaning that the target has been knocked unconscious. A normal stun lasts for about 30 minutes, 15 for almost, and 45 for a disastrous result. And they eventually wake up with a headache or feeling nauseous. L, with weapons flagged with as lethal, are just that, lethal. It's glowing blue skeleton time. Amazing. On a barely or almost lethal, weapons don't hit fully, but the target still suffers some damage, usually 4 levels. On a success or failure or higher result, the damage is lethal, and only spending story points allows the target to survive. Oh, interesting. Yes. If a character's out of story points, it could mean their demise. If this is too severe to the players, the Game Master can opt to have the character survive waking up as captured in a cell somewhere. When it comes to close physical combat, it's all about how strong you are. The damage from a punch or a kick is equal to the character's strength attribute. If the character has a strength of 3, they do 3 points of damage on a success result, and then it's like 1 for the lowest level, the half value, and then 4 for 1.5 times. Yeah. This can be increased if they're holding a weapon that is sharp, so +2. Heavy enough that you need 2 hands to swing, which is also +2, or dangerous, which is also +2. This increase is cumulative. So 2-handed sharp swords are a +4. Nice. Throwing weapons, same thing. It's a +2. Same rules apply. Cool. Oh, we have locations as well, so we can roll to be where it hurts and what attribute is. I was going to say that's probably more important. Which attribute is reduced, probably better. And then we've got some armor there as well. Nice, good. Again, why is that not on a reference sheet for the Game Master to use? I'd have to go find that on page 28 of all places. And we've got some armor as well, and cover type, which gives some protection. There you go. I'm just going to flick through the other ones. Oh, the Iron Death. Wow, who would have known? Just going to flick through and have a look, see what else we've got. Got more Game Master tips. Regular breaks, always good. Oh, we've got examples of healing there. Again, we're running out of time, so we won't have a look at it just now, but it's good to have it there. But again, why isn't this on a reference sheet for us to look at easily? Awful lot of running to do. The thrill of a chase. So I've got chase stuff as well, and ranges. Oh, sorry. That was a. Oh, you have a tracker at the bottom. Cool. Okay. Technology levels. Accessibility. Oh, let's read that. If the character has a disability or injury, that means that the staircase or ladder-based challenge is not suitable. An alternative would be having to lift that character to rewire. Or it's space and everything has ramps. Or there are, like, yeah. There's no, just customize it to what you need to be, I think. Ooh, some dangerous things in a restrictive archive. Nice. The end? Question mark? There you go. And then continuing the story. So then we've got some examples of other things we'd like to do. Oh, cool. Adventure hooks we talked about. Ah, so that's individual adventure hooks for each of the characters as well. Nice. Excellent. Some examples of stuff. The prophecy, the conductor. Ooh. Time Lord call a rogue Time Lord called the conductor. Well, well, well. And there you go. And then we've got weirdly having a contents page at the end for some reason. Why is that not at the beginning? Weird. Weird. And then they get the role-playing advert at the back. There you go. So I'm sorry, I didn't get to do much of the story, unfortunately. Actually, I'll roll back at the top, shall I? There we go. What do we think? Okay. Fine. I think actually the writing of this it's the credits. Yes, I don't know why they've put the credits right at the end. Let's see. The writers behind it, Eleanor Higney, David F. Chapman, who I think was one of the main writers for the first core, maybe the second core as well. Good. Can I just say, great writing actually. I wasn't sure about this before, but actually that scenario that you come up with actually feels very exciting. It feels very Doctor Who. To be honest with you, it's got all the elements there. I like how all the characters are different and exciting. It's not just another human in mid 21st century Earth. I like that it's written in a language that is straightforward for people maybe running their first role-playing game. Like, again, the system itself, I had a bad experience in that first edition one. It does feel a lot simplified, as Zen Hoodlum was saying, and straightforward. So I really like that. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited actually, because like I said, my favourite things are Doctor-like episodes, and it feels like you play this one and you go, okay, now we're going to go on to the Echo Chamber, which is a little bit more. But also, you could put the Doctor in it. That it says that you change it so that the Doctor is more prominent on this, and it kind of is very encouraging about giving people like to do stuff. And so, I do think the orange boxes are very helpful to really stand out. I do think in terms of accessibility point of view, myself, it would have been nice to have like again, nice, a really good summary. I thought the summary was really good. It would have been nice to have like these in boxes, like obvious that, yeah, because again, looking at it right now, could you tell which bits you had to read aloud? Sort of the italicized bit, but it's not obvious. I think again that's why the D&D stuff works so well, because you can always find the box. So I think having it in just even it's just like a little TARDIS like symbol or something like that, or like having like a little like outline would be quite good. I love the character sheets. They are very. I'm going to move out a little bit. Again, I like how they fold up so you could open them if you printed them out. But equally, I think they're very clear. I wish they were form fillable. I like how it explains what the bits of the character sheet is. I love the introduction idea. I really like that. I think that's pretty cool. The distinction stuff, I think that could have been explained a little bit more in the. I think those reference sheets we looked at, dead straightforward, simple. But again, would have maybe one or two more talking about healing and damage and maybe contested roles, perhaps, just to have that information there. But maybe they want people to read the actual book a little bit. The story points, I think they are nice. I don't particularly like the story point about like losing it. I think that calls for a timeout. Let's talk about this. Because if someone's killing people in cold blood, there's lots of someone's broken some safety stuff there. Like I feel like the vibe of Doctor Who is that it's family friendly, heroic adventures. Anyone that's killing anyone or anyone that's like hurting anyone is a baddie. That's kind of the thing here. Or deaths happen off screen because they are done by Daleks, all that sort of thing. So yeah, and yeah, I think the main mechanic is what, like I said, like it feels like I'm going on about it a little bit, but how do you describe to someone who's never played a role-playing game before that they add numbers together and then they roll 2d6, and then they see if they beat something, and then did you get a 1 or 2 and a 6? Like, again, for me, I'm like, I get it. It's just a couple of extra steps, which I think can be quite confusing, because then people are like, oh, well, I got a 5 and a 4, and you're like, yeah, but what was your total? You know, like, it's just, again, having that script down to be like explaining why it's important, and having that the table as well out for everyone to see as a reference sheet. Again, you have it here at the bottom. Oh no, oh yeah, you have it here. So we'll just put that everywhere. But you know what? I still don't like I still don't like it baked into the rules, but I actually really enjoyed that scenario, or at least the beginning of it. It actually makes me excited. I feel like that's the sort of game I'd like to play. If I was doing Doctor Who, it's something I'd like to play. And it'll be interesting if they do any. I assume they're going to do a 15th Doctor source book at some point. Maybe they'll go back to a different Doctor Who logo, perhaps, because obviously this is the 14th Doctor. Sorry, no, this 13th Doctor logo. And will there be like a 14th Doctor, like David Tennant? Will that come back? So I don't know. I do not know. But there you go. There you go. That is Too Long Didn't Read, the starter set for the Doctor Who, the role-playing game, 2nd edition. You can, let me pop it in here for people to find it. You can grab a copy, or find out more even, on the Cubicle 7. Is it gonna? You can find it on the Cubicle 7 website, or you can get the PDFs to download there. Chamberlain for the win. I agree. I would love to play Chamberlain. Actually, I'd love to play. I think Charlie's quite a fun one. I think this Silurian would be quite fun as well. All of them are different and fun. So I agree. I think it's nice to see that, and to give the option as well to be like, you can be anything or anyone. You do not have to be 21st century human. I know I keep going on about it, but it's just something I find really boring in current Doctor Who. Goes, it's another person from nowadays. So let me just find. What was I going to do? I was going to do Big Fiona screen. There we go. Hello. If you have enjoyed this, thank you so much. I very much appreciate people commenting and talking about this. We will be back tomorrow, she says, trying to find what we're doing tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think it's the one we've moved from last week because of Friday. So, yes, tomorrow we're going to be looking at The Woods at Blight's Hollow. It's a recent RPG that came out, which I'm very excited about. We were supposed to do it last Friday, but then I had some admin work to do, so we moved it to tomorrow. And then, unfortunately, that is it for the rest of this week. It is where I am. There's an Independence Day that I have to go celebrate, apparently, or be told that that people are free from my rule, which, you know. Great. We'll be back next week, though. We've got 3 streams next week. The plan to do it. We have Told by Starlight happening on Tuesday at 11 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. BST. We also have Endure happening on Thursday, same time, 11 a.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. BST. And then we have Dusk City Outlaws coming out on Friday as well. So different RPG streams. So anything that tickles your fancy, please check them out. Follow along. You can, and again, they're all scheduled on YouTube, so you can always notify me now. Or if you want, let me do the whole thing. So first of all, one of my podcasts is What Am I Rolling, which is a twice monthly tabletop RPG one-shot podcast where we do lots of interesting, lots of different systems, and we play them through. We've got lots of interviews with game designers. I'm doing a world-building series just now with just me, because I have just moved countries. If you're like, Fiona, I don't want to talk about D&D. Yeah, you can. There's the DM's book club, which we're also doing, which we take a bit of D&D lore, read it as like a book club sort of thing, and talk about what works and what doesn't work, and what we could do for any games, because any system, there's not one system for anyone, not one lore for everyone, and it's about encouraging people to make stories. That's the whole kind of point. That's my whole sort of shtick. If you're interested and want to find out more, just come to the Discord. We've got a Discord as well, so come check us out. Again, it's a little bit quiet, but that's where you'll find out what I'm planning on doing in terms of what kind of streams coming up, and you can also suggest stuff there. Otherwise, I will just go into my number generator. Brilliant. Thank you so much for being a part of this ride. I very much appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are. I'm going to go get myself some lunch, because you might have heard my stomach rumbling halfway through the stream, and I was like, probably should have some lunch. Thank you so much, friends. I will be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, 11 a.m. no, 11 a.m. Central, 5 p.m. BST for Lights Hollow. So love the show. Thank you so much, Zed Huddle. Thank you for being engaging and talking through it. I very much appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you again on a different stream, perhaps. But thank you so much. All right, I am going to go to press the button. I'm going to wave. And no matter where you are, enjoy the rest of your day and play more games. Always good. Bye.